If we can collect one guy's phone calls without a warrant, we can collect everyone's phone calls without a warrant, their emails, their internet traffic, whatever, as long as it meets that same sort of idea where it's metadata, right? It's not what you say in the communication, it's who you said it to, it's when. It's the same kind of details a private eye would collect if they followed you around all day. They see when you left your house in the morning, they see where you went, they see the cafe you ate at, they see who you met with at the cafe, but they can't sit right next to you and write down everything you say, because you might go, who is this weirdo that's sitting behind me everywhere I go and writing things down? But electronically, they can assign a private eye to follow everyone in the world all the time. And it's incredibly cheap, it's incredibly easy. This was my job at NSA. On the other hand, we have targeted surveillance. And this I am not a critic of in quite the same way. This is where they go, we have a specific individual. He's a known associate of Al-Qaeda operatives. We have evidence that indicates he's planning attacks in, whatever, in Peshawar or something like that. We've gone to a judge. The judge has said the evidence is there, a standard that authorizes a warrant to go collect information against him, and then they hack into his phone or something else. That's fine, right? As long as it is always the least intrusive means of investigation necessary to achieve an investigative purpose, right? This means you don't go for the atomic bomb to swat a fly, right? You climb the ladder and you go, look, nothing else will work. We have to go after this person. And the judge says, look, that's fine, right? And no judge in the world gets cold feet about authorizing warrants on terrorists. That just does not happen. Our secret rubber stamp FISA court, right? I talked before about this sort of fake court. We have two courts in the United States, two systems of courts. We've got the ordinary open federal courts that everybody knows about. And as part of that grand bargain in the 1970s, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, called the FISC. All the judges on this court are appointed by the same person, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, right, who at the time now is very seriously conservative. So you don't have a normal mix of opinions on this court. And in the 33 years that its decisions were being studied by Mother Jones, they saw the government had requested warrants through this court about 33,900 times. And in those 33,900 times over 33 years, you know how many times the court said no? 11. Right? So it's not like warrants are hard to get. It's not like this is a huge burden that they can't go around. And all of our laws are written in surveillance for such a way that they've got like 72-hour emergency provisions, where if they think a terrorist has just traveled and they need to hit this guy specifically, they can wiretap him first, then go to the judge 3 days later to actually do the warrant. So they got lots of flexibility here. The problem is this. These are natural limitations on the amount of surveillance that the government can do, and the government doesn't like that, right? And I don't mean this is like the NSA is bad, the American government is bad. All governments are like this. This is just the way that power operates, right? They want the maximalist position. And here's my biggest beef with mass surveillance. The programs that I revealed that everybody was saying was, oh my God, this is necessary, the defense of the country, everything's going to end if the secret gets out. The president himself, Barack Obama, appointed 2 independent investigative commissions in the wake of the revelations of 2013, who looked into these mass surveillance programs. They had complete access to classified information. They interviewed the CIA director, NSA director, FBI director, all these guys. And they could not find a single instance in more than 10 years of operation where this kind of mass surveillance had not only saved a life, right? It had never done that. They said it had never even made a, quote, concrete difference in the outcome of any counterterrorism investigation. Moreover, it hadn't contributed to the discovery of a plot or anything like that. The Bush-era warrantless wiretapping program called Stellar Wind was similar. This was the document that actually made me realize I need to come forward. It's long, a secret history. If you're interested in it, search for Stellar Wind, Washington Post. You can read the entire document online, the analysis of it. We thought the program ended when Bush said it ended, but it didn't. He actually split it into 2 parts. The public part that the government branded after the fact the terrorist surveillance program, because the press found out about it, and they needed to describe it, they shut down. But another part called the PSP, the President's Surveillance Program, had secretly continued. The Attorney General of the United States had said, this program is not lawful, it's not appropriate, it should not be continued under these legal authorities. Rather than the president saying, okay, let's change it, let's move it to different legal authorities. And this is the post-9 era, 9/11 era, where any law could be passed, anything could be justified. They said, nah, we don't want to actually get permission for this. Instead, secretly, the vice president's lawyer, David Addington, went to the NSA director, Michael Hayden, and said, hey, NSA director, will you warrantlessly wiretap everybody in the country, even if the attorney general says it's not okay, because the president asked you to? And he said yes. Now, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing, but here's the problem. Even with that program, another mass surveillance program, there were secret studies that showed that it, too, hadn't made any concrete difference in terrorism investigations. So for me, this raises the central question. Why are politicians justifying programs on the basis of saving lives, of countering terrorism, that for more than a decade have never shown any value for countering terrorism? They're not stupid. Right? Governments aren't, they're many things, but they're not often incompetent across all levels, particularly at the working level, right? When you go high up as decision makers, you might get some questionable decisions. But the real answer is these programs were never about terrorism. They do have value. Mass surveillance has value, just not for saving lives. It is valuable for traditional espionage, diplomatic manipulation, economic espionage, and social influence, right? Controlling the narrative, shaping the way the world thinks about issues, and understanding what everybody's thinking, who's connected to who. These programs are about power, right? Targeted investigation, targeted surveillance has a clear, centuries-long track record of working, of saving lives. Why are we not focusing on that? So there's a lot of questions in there. But I'll try to go sort of rapid fire through a couple of them. One, has the government lost access to or lost control of the secrets, right? And their basic argument for why we should be okay with this is they go, we're not using this for bad purposes, and we're the government, right? We're the freaking NSA. Nobody can control a secret like us, right? We got clearances and top secret and vaults and guards and dogs and fences and all this stuff, right? Your secret's safe with us, even if it's something you don't want anybody to know. Yet just in the last week, the CIA's top secret hacking tools are all over the internet. Anybody can download them right now. It's honestly unbelievable to me that this is still happening after so many examples, so many warnings that this kind of stuff can be happening. The NSA that was the NSA that happened this week. Last month, it happened to the CIA. Before that, of course, there's my revelations, WikiLeaks revelations, all of these things that indicate the government's having a really hard time controlling these secrets, right? They say, trust us with this, it'll never get out, but it gets out all the time. These things are happening not just once a year nowadays, they're happening every couple months. The OPM hack is perhaps the most famous example if you work for the government, right? If you are a veteran. Anybody who filled out what's called the SF-86, Standard Form 86, which is the government clearance application. It's a 27-page long form, which is basically everywhere you ever lived. Have you ever been arrested? You ever go to a therapist? All your family, every job you've ever had, all of your friends, everybody who knew you were here, so they can go, you're not a spy, right? But it's intensely private information. Held for basically every active duty service member because they've all got secret clearances nowadays, and people who have TS have even more in there. This was hacked, they believe, by the Chinese, right? And they have the entire database. Now, at last count, 1.4 million people have clearances in the United States that are active, but many more have clearances filled out these forms that are not active, right, that have just lapsed. They're still in the database. If they can't protect the identities of their actual spies, right, how well do you think they're actually protecting your phone calls, right? Your emails, everything in your search history for the last 5 years or whatever. Corporations already have this and they're abusing it in new ways.